Next little subject I'm going to bring up here is Truth Social. What is Truth Social? Truth Social is Donald Trump's sort of rip-off Twitter equivalent, which, if you remember right, back in the day, he got kicked off of Twitter because he was spreading lies and misinformation. And basically, Twitter said, you know what, fuck you, you're out of here. And they banned him. But I believe he was president when this happened. They banned his personal account, if I remember right. Did they ban the official presidential account of the United States? I think they did. I think they actually banned the actual official president of the United States Twitter account because Donald Trump was telling lies about the election on it. And it happened after January 6th, didn't it? I believe that's what happened. I don't know. Maybe I have to look that up. Maybe I don't remember exactly. That's what happened. That's what got Donald Trump kicked off of Twitter. And so instead of being a good boy and trying to petition to get himself back onto Twitter, he decided to go make his own Twitter with blackjack and hookers, and thus Truth Social was born. Truth Social, by the way, is exclusively Donald Trump's social media app. Literally nobody uses it. They get somewhere around, I think it was something like 5 million users a month, which is pathetic when it comes to social media. By contrast, Twitter has something like 6 billion users, right? Facebook gets something like 100 billion views a month or some shit. It's insane how much Facebook and Twitter get compared to True Social. So it's not even close. Now, granted, it's bigger than places like Gab or Parler or something, who have user bases in the hundreds of thousands, which is absolutely fucking nothing when it comes to a social media site. But it's nowhere close to, say, Twitter or Facebook or Reddit. You know, I think Reddit gets something like 100 million uniques a day or some ridiculous fucking number like that. I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, I guess I could look it up, but I'm not going to. So, yeah, Truth Social is small potatoes. And they recently had a stock that went public so that people can buy their stock. And it didn't go too well. Did not go too well at all. Basically, the stock has tanked. Here's a article that I want to read for you guys here. And we'll just make this half size because I got some feedback from somebody basically saying that they want to see more of my artwork and less of the news articles that I want to read to you guys. So we'll just make this half size so that you can still see me. Well, I'm not going to be reading much. Working much, but, we'll put it here, and then you guys can follow this so you can still kind of see me coloring in the background here, right? This is CBS News. Trump's social media company loses billions in value as stock price swings wildly. So let's read a little bit of this. Former President Donald Trump's fledgling media business is losing its sheen among investors a week after going public with a sharp reversal in the company's stock price, lopping $4 billion off of its value. Now, I am no super smarty when it comes to the stock market or investing, right? If I was, I'd be rich, and I'm not rich. But something tells me that a stock losing $4 billion in less than a week is... damn. I mean, in 1 week, $4 billion. Kind of a lot, wouldn't you say? Kind of seems like that's a lot. Kind of seems like that company's not going to be around very much. Or what really happened is that it was overvalued. So it came in, I think, at around $49, and then it got all the way up to $72, and then now it's starting to tick off again. And now it's closed lower than what it opened at. It closed at around, I think it was, as of today, somewhere around $42 today. This was written a few days ago. But anyway, let's read a little bit more here. Monday's plunge in Trump's media and technology group shares, which debuted on the Nasdaq Composite Index on March 25th under the ticker DJT, after the former president's initials, Comes as it disclosed mounting losses in a regulatory filing. The company also noted that its accountant had issued a warning that its losses raised substantial doubt about the ability to continue as a going concern, i.e., this company cannot stay in business. So what actually happened? Well, they came out and they had to say how much the company actually made. And it turns out that last year, Truth Social made $5 million. $5 million. However, it cost somewhere around $50 million to run. Why does a social media company with only something like 5 million users, why does it cost $50 million to run? What's going on here? Why does it cost so much goddamn money when you don't really have that many users? How is it so fucking expensive? And they made 5 million bucks after everything was said and done? Does that sound like a company that's worth $5 billion? Right? Trump's personal stake right now, when it dropped, was valued at around $4 billion. It's obviously overvalued. Very, very, very much so. Obviously fucking overvalued. There's no fucking way this company is worth that much goddamn money. And that's why we're starting to see it fall apart like this. It's really no surprise. I mean, does anybody really think that Donald Trump is a good businessman? Did you really think this? Last week, this fucking guy was selling Bibles, for fuck's sake. They was selling $60 Bibles, right? Or and he was selling shoes. He was selling these overpriced, ridiculous shoes with gold, these ugly ass high tops that you could find AliExpress or whatever. You could find them for $20, and they were selling them for how much were they selling these fucking shoes for? For $100, right? Just because they had the Trump T on them. That's what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a con artist. He's always been a con artist. I mean, Trump University, for fuck's sake. Tricked all these people. It's oh yeah, come and learn how to do business from Donald Trump himself. And then, they ended up scamming all these people, and Donald Trump ended up having to pay somewhere around $25 million, I think, because everybody sued him. They didn't actually teach him any business. It was just some fucking bullshit seminar thing that you had to pay thousands of dollars to go for. Then you didn't get to meet Donald Trump, and it didn't actually teach you anything about business, right? Fucking ridiculous. As of the close of trading on Tuesday, Trump, who owns 57% of the newly public company, has lost $2.5 billion, at least on paper, because of the stock slide. His stake is now worth $3.8 billion, down from the $6.3 billion at the stock's peak last week. It's too bad he wasn't able to sell these, right? So I guess what it is that there's rules, basically in order to keep him from just dumping it all immediately and running away with the money, there's a rule that got put in with the merger that basically said you have to hang on to the stock for 6 months, right? And I guess that's a pretty standard thing, apparently. I mean, like I said, I'm no expert. So, that's kind of a good thing that by 6 months from now, this stock is probably going to be at $5 or something. Right? But just think about that. This initial public offering, Donald Trump made conceivably $6.8 billion. $6.8 billion on a company that had revenue of $5 million last year. How the fuck is that even possible? Why would anybody think that company was real? And why is he getting so much fucking money for it? It's basically a pump and dump scheme is what that is. Now, what is a pump and dump scheme? That's when somebody makes, they oversell their stock and then they talk it up in the news. Basically, it gets a bunch of buzz going, and then a bunch of people buy into it thinking that it's going to go up. And that does drive the stock up, and then they cash out, sell it all, and then that drives the price way down when everybody realizes that the company is fucking worthless. That's essentially what happens with cryptocurrency nowadays. The thing is that there are no laws regulating cryptocurrency, so that shit happens all the time. Bitcoin was really good, so then all of these other weird-ass little coins come around, Shiba Inu coin and fucking Garlic coin and Dogecoin and all this other shit. And they're all pump and dump schemes. Every single one of them is just basically made to rip people off. Somebody at the top makes a shitload of money, everybody else is left holding the bag. And this is why you'll never get rich investing in bullshit like this. You're always going to get taken. Let's read a little bit more. To be sure, Trump Media continues to maintain its heady market capitalization for a business that's in the red, and that booked just $4.1 million in revenue last year. Wow, that's it? I thought so. It's even less than I thought. They only made $4 million last year, so how the fuck is the company worth $6.8 billion? They only made this much fucking money last year. Ridiculous. Even after Monday's stock plunged, the business is worth $6.7 billion, making it more valuable than companies like Bausch & Lomb, Aloka Corp, or Harley-Davidson, all of which have annual revenue in the billions. What is it really saying here, right, is that obviously the company is not worth that much. There's no possible fucking way at all that Truth Social is worth $6 billion. It's just not possible when they only bring in $4.1 million of revenue. It's complete and total fucking bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Couple of other things I wanted to read about this. So this is an interesting article. Basically, this is just saying there's a pump and dump going on and Trump is ripping you off. Here's something else I saw, which is kind of related to this. Exclusive. This is from The Guardian. Trump Media saved in 2022 by Russian American under criminal investigation. Oh, that's kind of strange. Another Russian connection with Donald Trump, huh? You know, as an aside, there wasn't very much that came out about the Trump-Russia thing in 2016. That is to say, there is no direct evidence that any votes were changed or anything like that, or that Russia hacked the servers or something like that. There's no real evidence that that kind of happened, that they didn't monkey with votes or anything like that. But interference in the election? Yes. Yes, there were lots of interference in the election. There were arrests made because so many people that just happen to have dealings with the Trump campaign happen to be Russian nationals or have connections to Russian intelligence. That's definitely a thing. People were arrested and indicted and put in prison over the Trump-Russia investigations, right? To say that there's nothing there is just not true. It is true that they did not steal the election in 2016. Okay, that's not what happened, right? The Russians didn't swoop in and like hack Hillary's server and swap over the vote totals. Like, that's not what happened. But was there Russian interference in that election? Yes. Did Donald Trump have connections to Russian intelligence, or at least people around him? Yes. That's most definitely a fucking thing. And it's just funny how that just keeps bearing out as the years go on. And here's another guy. Here's another connection to Putin and Russian intelligence. And I say specifically Putin because this guy is the nephew, the guy that he got this money from. This Russian American who is under criminal investigation happens to be a nephew of one of Putin's close aides. So let's read a little bit here. Donald Trump's social media company, Trump Media, managed to go public last week only after it had been kept afloat in 2022 by emergency loans provided in part by a Russian-American businessman under scrutiny and a federal insider trading and money laundering investigation. I.e., Donald Trump went to a criminal to get loans because his company that doesn't produce anything and doesn't make any revenue was about to go out of business. So he went to the only place who would actually give him any money, and that is the Russians, because Donald Trump burned every other fucking bank that he went to. That's what the whole thing in New York, all of the judgment against him in New York, that's what that's all about, by the way. Donald Trump continuously ripping off American banks to where they don't want to deal with him anymore. So then he has to go to the Russians, right, who probably own his ass at this point. It's never good, by the way, to have somebody who is in debt to the Russians, to Russian banks in his business as the chief executive officer of the United States, because you don't know where his loyalty lies. But let's continue reading. The former U.S. president stands to gain billions of dollars. His stake is currently valued at about $4 million from the merger between Trump Media and Technology Group and the bank check company Digital World Acquisition Corporation, which took the parent company of Truth Social public. But Trump Media almost did not make it to the merger after regulators opened a securities investigation into the merger in 2021. and caused the company to burn through cash at an extraordinary rate as it waited to get the green light for its stock market debut. Why was it burning through cash at an extraordinary rate? Because Truth Social doesn't make any money. See, they're not saying that part, but that's why. Why were they having to go through investor money to keep afloat? Because the company doesn't actually produce anything. It doesn't actually have any value, the company. It doesn't do anything. It brings in $4 million. Now, just read between the lines here. What does this actually mean, right? They were forced to wait before they could go public because there was this regulatory thing going on because they were under investigation and you can't go public during that, apparently. So they had to basically go through the cash they had on hand. Why? Because they don't actually produce anything. See, because the plan, read between the lines here, the plan was to go public in 2021. Plan was to go public back then so that they could basically do a pump and dump then and run away with all the money. And by this point, Donald Trump was thinking, oh, we would have sold this shit already and I would have made my fucking $6 billion. But they had to wait. They had to wait because regulators opened a securities investigation into the merger. They wanted to do this back in 2021. They wanted to rip everybody off back then. And they couldn't do it because of regulations. And now they're trying to do it now. And in the meantime, they had to get money to keep the company from folding under because it doesn't actually make anything. It doesn't create anything. It doesn't do anything. This situation led Trump Media to take emergency loans from an entity called ES Family Trust, which opened an account with Paxum Bank, a small bank registered in the Caribbean island of Dominica that is best known for providing financial services to the porn industry. Okay. They had to take out emergency loans because the company doesn't make any money. Keep that in mind. Through leaked documents, The Guardian has learned that ES Family Trust operated like a shell company for a Russian-American businessman named Anton Postolinikov. Okay, I probably completely butchered that. Apology to anybody out there who's Russian. Who co-owns Paxum Bank and has been a subject of the long years joint federal criminal investigation by the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security into the Trump Media merger. The existence of the trust has previously been reported by The Guardian and the Washington Post. However, who controlled the account and how the trust was connected to Paxum Bank and how the money has been funneled through the trust to Trump Media was unknown. Okay, moving on down. It basically explains the whole fucking thing talking about this guy, but here's the guy that we want to talk about, right? Paxum Bank does not offer loans in the U.S. as it lacks a U.S. banking license. It is not regulated by the FDIC. Postolinikov appears to have used the trust to loan money to help save Trump Media and the Truth Social platform because his bank itself could not furnish the loan. Postolinikov, the nephew of Alexander Smirnov, an ally of the Russian President Vladimir Putin, has not been charged with a crime. In response to an email to Postolinikov seeking comment, a lawyer in Dominica representing Paxum Bank warned of legal action for reporting the contents of the leaked documents. And here's the part that I find hard to believe. There is also no indication that Trump or Trump Media had any idea about the nature of the loans beyond that they were opaque, nor has the company or its executives been accused of wrongdoing. A spokesperson for Trump Media did not respond to a request for comment. I'm sorry, but I just don't find that believable. I simply do not find that believable. I don't find it believable that they didn't know that the guy that they were getting their money from to keep their company afloat just happened to be the nephew of one of Vladimir Putin's closest allies and aides. Just not possible. Who are they trying to fucking kid? This is what really happened. They needed money. No one in America would give them money because Trump is a fucking criminal. So he reached out to Vladimir Putin and his Russian friends who have bailed his ass out before. And Putin saw this as a way to get a favor from a possible future American president. Yeah, we'll bail you out here. We'll keep your company afloat. And when you become president again, you remember what we did for you. That's what's really going on here. See, these are the reasons why that a president is not supposed to have a business. A president isn't supposed to have a business. This is not a thing that we should be dealing with. There are laws against this kind of thing. You know, it's the reason why Jimmy Carter, for example, had to give up his peanut farm before he could go off and be president. Why? Because you don't know what he's going to be loyal to. You don't know what the decisions he's going to be making. Are they going to personally benefit himself? You know, there shouldn't even be a possibility of a president doing that, of a president making decisions that influence and like his own industry that he's in or the business that he's in that he could take advantage of personally. That shouldn't be a thing that we allow. Of course, we allow it in the country. We knew that this was going to be a concern with Donald Trump when he became president the first time. Nobody gave a fuck because Republicans just don't care about this kind of thing. Republicans are slimy, and they don't give a shit about this at all. In fact, the whole reason why most Republicans actually run for office is to personally enrich themselves in the first place. I mean, look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, for fuck's sake. But this is why. This is why you have things like the Emoluments Clause, where it's illegal for a foreign country to give money to the president. And we're supposed to not allow that. We're supposed to do something. So, for example, when the Chinese come over to meet with Donald Trump when he's the president, and then they all stay at the Trump Hotel as a nice little way of kind of kicking a bribe over to Donald Trump, that's why that shit shouldn't be allowed. You know, the president shouldn't be running fucking hotels while he's the president. I don't even think, like, I mean, me personally, I don't even think they should be allowed to trade stock. Like, you know, here's an example from the Democratic side. Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is notorious for insider trading because it's legal. It's legal for fucking senators and congresspeople and House reps and things to engage in insider trading. We don't do anything about it. So she got away with it, and she personally enriched herself millions upon millions of dollars over her long tenure as a House rep in Congress. That shouldn't be allowed. Right? If you can agree that fucking Nancy Pelosi shouldn't be allowed to exploit her position to make money, then you should also agree that Donald Trump shouldn't be allowed to do the same fucking thing. We wouldn't have to worry about this kind of thing. Here's another example, right? There was actual fear in order to get his $475 million judgment paid that Donald Trump would go to a foreign actor. A foreign country like Russia or China or somebody might send agents over and pay that off for him as a way of getting a favor out of a possible future president. And the way the law is set up, there's no law against it. There's no law that says I'm not allowed to go and get a friend if I have a judgment in a civil case. There's no law that says a friend of mine who's rich can't just pay that off for me, regardless of what country they're from. No, not at all. It's not even disqualifying. But now we have to worry about that. We have to worry. I mean, it turns out the guy that actually gave him the bond was a fucking used car salesman or some shit. Right? Like, he basically went to the lowest of the low in order to, like, get his bond paid off. So we don't have to worry. It didn't happen this time. But it shouldn't even be a concern. And that's what's really the problem here, as I see it. That's what's really going on. That's the real fucking issue here. Is that it's just another opportunity for Donald Trump to rip everybody off that he's ever done business with. Like, to just rip everyone off, get away with all the fucking money, and sell out his country at the same fucking time. Couple of more things I want to show you guys about this here. Here's a thing that I saw on Twitter. I thought this was funny. Let me just go ahead and open this thing up here. I thought this one was funny. Let's make this a little bigger so you guys can read it. Sunny Burl days. Trump media stock is going down faster than Lauren Boebert at a performance of Beetlejuice. Today it closed a little bit below this, I believe. Like, let's see. What did Trump stock actually close at today? Let's see. DJT close. It is currently at 46.15, so it actually went down a little bit more than this. Of course, this was a few days ago, right? This was on... Actually, no. This was today. So, yeah, it went down about 15 cents again. I hope that means Donald Trump loses a few extra $1 million, because fuck him. One more little thing I want to show you on this. And let's make this guy big, because this is Barry Diller, who I don't really even know who Barry Diller is, but he is now my new personal hero. Let's listen to what Barry Diller has to say about Donald Trump and his stock.
Not a political question about former President Trump, but actually a business question about Truth Social. You've seen the stock on the move in this, I'll call it remarkable, maybe even crazy way.
Just say 2 words, GameStop.
GameStop. That's what you think is going on here.
It's ridiculous.
The
company has no revenue.
But do you think it could ever be a bigger business? Do you think if he wins the presidency, it becomes...
Why?
I'm asking...
Why would it be bigger? Look, he's only interesting now because he's out there entertaining the folks. I hope if he does get elected, he just plays golf for 4 years. But
so do you think that all of the investors...
Damn. Now, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if he's a regular on this show, or I don't even know who the fucking host is for this, right? But you don't usually see people on mainstream media have this flippant of an attitude. Even like the guests sometimes, like they don't. They most usually will be very professional as they can. Like normally the guy would come out and say, "Oh, it's Donald Trump's buy. I don't think it's really a good stock buy because of this way, blah blah blah, and this over index over here and earnings quarter, blah blah blah." Like usually it's this is some boring shit that they're like spewing. It's like I've never seen somebody straight out just act the way this guy Barry Diller is. Like, no, this is a fucking scam. You're an idiot if you buy it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of refreshing. It's like, good, finally they got an honest fucking guy on here to actually talk about finances, right? Let's continue.
Investors in this are getting scammed? Do you think they think this is a transference of wealth from one side to the other, and that's the goal? What do you think is happening?
I think they're dopes. I mean, who would buy a company that literally has, I think, what does it have? $30 of revenue? Why would you how could you put a value on it?
I think they're dopes. Holy fuck, this dude rules.
They're buying it for other reasons, just like they bought theaters when there was no theater business, or they bought GameStop or whatever. It's stupid. It's stupid stuff.
It was 1,000 times revenue, I think.
What?
I think it was wasn't it $4 million? It was
$4 million in revenue. That's $4 million in revenue.
So, what did that guy just say? The stock price was 1,000 times what the revenue was. $4 million in revenue, and then the price, the company is valued at $4 billion. Like, that's not feasible. That's not real. You don't just like say my company's worth fucking $4 billion because I have this like 1,000 times less revenue. That's wacky. And anyone like, and I agree with this Barry Diller guy. Anybody who invests in that is a fucking idiot. Like, see, like, they're just he's laughing at it. Let's continue.
It's ridiculous. I'm not saying it's not real.
$4 million. Why are you even talking about this? It's a scam, just like everything he's ever been involved in is some sort of con.
Let me pivot.
Amazing survival of a con man is just beyond comprehension, but there it is.
This dude rules. I don't know. I'm going to have to look Barry Diller up because I don't know who he is. I don't know what his politics are. I don't know anything about that at all. But I do know that this guy is fucking awesome. And it's refreshing to get somebody out there speaking the truth once in a while. I don't know. I kind of hope that people finally wake up after this shit. Like, you know, because you see Donald Trump selling Bibles or selling fucking shoes or selling NFTs. You remember the NFT thing, right? And just ripping people off, and you're like, okay, well, he's only ripping off his audience, like whatever. To me, it's kind of like when I see a preacher, you know, like you ever see these prosperity gospel preachers, and you know, it's funny the comparison there. It's really not that far off. I used to get angry at that when I was younger. And I would see people going, God, how do people waste their money doing this, right? I kind of see TV preachers now as an antibody for society. And the function that TV preachers have is to separate the gullible from their money before these people do something really bad with it. You know what I mean? Like, if the TV preachers weren't taking all these fucking people's money, you know, like, put your hands on the screen and God told me I need $5 billion for my own private jet and a mansion. Like, if they weren't taking these people's money, then these people might be doing something dangerous with it. Right? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, that's kind of how I see Trump now. But I think this might be a step too far, right? I think playing with the financial markets like this, it's going to turn people off. And people are going to realize that. Because this is what's going to happen. People are going to go out and they're going to buy shares in this stock. They're going to put their whole life savings into it. Because they believe in Donald Trump. And when he fucking rips them off and runs away with the money, which is what he's going to do, a lot of people are going to be very disappointed there. And I don't want that to happen because, first off, I don't want Donald Trump to make $6 billion. But if it does happen, maybe his followers will finally understand who this man is. Maybe they'll stop giving this fucking carnival barker their money and stop wanting him to fucking rule the world. Maybe if he fucks them over really super bad and takes their life savings from them, maybe they'll finally understand. Like, Jesus Christ, man. I've been such a fucking idiot for so long here. And I've given this man so much fucking money and my loyalty and all this other shit. And he doesn't give one iota of a fuck about me. Maybe that'll finally happen. So, I don't know. Anybody who buys fucking Donald Trump stock deserves what's coming. They deserve to get their asses just ripped off, right? They deserve to get ripped off because that's what's coming. And I don't know, folks, if you have friends or family, like your parents or whatever, if they're super conservative and they're buying Trump stock, I don't know, man. Beg and plead and get them to fucking sell that shit, because get out before it's too late.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.